The problem with Hinduism, I think, is that it is very difficult to define. And very often people say, Hinduism is not a religion, it's a way of life. Now, how do you define a way of life? You just live it, right? So the fact that you pointed out there is no church, there is no pope, there is no prophet, there are no compulsions, there's no obligatory this or that. All we have is a lot of gods. How many gods do we have?
Well, first of all, I've got to clarify what gods means in this context, because it is often said that Hinduism has 333 million gods. What this is that Hindu theory, Hindu religious philosophy, very early on argued, and I'm talking 3,500 years ago, argued that creation could not be reduced to any visualization of he or she or it, that essentially God was beyond quality, was omnipresent, that the creative force, which was called Brahman, suffuses the entire cosmos, and because of that you could not assign a form, a gender, qualities to the idea of God. Now they discovered that this created a rather abstruse faith that ordinary people found difficult to follow. So lots of ordinary people were worshipping fire or trees or symbols of nature because they wanted an object they could focus their worship on, since this formless God, the Nirguna Brahman, was impossible to conceptualize. And so Hinduism invented the idea that since none of us has actually seen God, met God, touched God, that God can therefore be visualized in any form that suits our imaginary needs. That we can therefore imagine God as a Saguna Brahman, that is the Brahman with qualities, and that these qualities then reflected the human need, as it were, for a crutch on which to lean on to reach out to the divine. So we created these multiple gods or manifestations of God corresponding to the human need, both to be able to imagine God and to seek certain qualities in the God we wanted to worship. And therefore Hinduism has this multiplicity of gods, of names of God, of forms of God, and what is more, many of the forms of God are associated with particular qualities, particular strengths, are worshipped for particular purposes. There's a goddess of learning you worship when you want to pass your exams. There's a goddess of wealth you worship when you want to succeed in a business deal. There's a god you worship when you want to have obstacles removed.